with all these standardized stores, right? Like where do-it-yourself
Yeah,
furniture.
yeah.
Um,
Ah, yeah, Ikea.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I was just
yeah,
trying to think,
yeah.
what is your thoughts on a model like that? Where it's just um, it's replicated en masse around the world, and you can get like an equivalent of fast fashion, where you can pick up the same shirt in Belgium, you can pick up the same shirt in Bangalore, because it's just available in these huge warehouses at a cheaper price.
Yeah, yeah, I find that really problematic because we are not really paying the real cost of these things and these objects.
Hmm.
The environmental cost is never calculated in, especially the T-shirt and the IKEA little table you are referring to.
Hmm.
That is, it's sourced somewhere. It's that material is shipped somewhere, that is produced, then the table finally. Then it goes to central warehouses where it's again distributed. And what is the biggest problem is, in fact, that it's so cheap that you say after 2 or 3 years, when you don't like it anymore, or when your daughter played with a marker and started to make some graffiti on it,
Hmm.
um, you just say, "Oh, we throw it away. We put it on the outside of the house, and it's at the garbage." When especially you were referring to Belgium, where I come from. I don't live anymore, but I knew when the moment was there when the students left their student rooms that were completely furnished with IKEA. The A lot of these beds, tables, coat hangers were on the street
Right.
and discarded. They didn't even took them back home, or it was like all seen as garbage. So that means that we are paying the environmental cost in the production, in the assembly of the product, and as society. And then afterwards, we also have to take care. We also have to pay for the landfill, because
Mm.
that are the costs that we are paying, or for the burning of it. Next to that, you immediately go back to the IKEA because you want to have the new table, a cheap one,
Yeah.
maybe a different color, and again the circle starts.
Mm.
So we are in a circle of consumption where that a former cupboard went on for generations. So
Yeah.
I think true sustainability of a chair and a table and a bed and these kind of things were handed over from generation to generation. And this is something I think we and that were most of the time also things that could be repaired, that could
Mm.
be adapted, and the objects you are referring to
Mm.
that create that interchangeable environment that is quite anonymous, that is not related to any personal, even memory. Um, uh, is created now everywhere, more and more in kind of Instagram, Airbnb world, where that spaces need to look in a certain way to be accepted, to be liked, to be I don't know to be what, but it's probably, yeah, it's creating its own logic, and that I find problematic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's no, because I remember when we moved houses. My grandfather had these set of office chairs and furniture for his room, which was rosewood, and I think when he got it, it was already like 100 years old. So I made it a point, like for me, I still have those chairs. I mean, it's kept in storage, but I'm like, that for me is how things were built. And what I couldn't get is, see, you obviously come from a place where you're also creating a next generation of designers and architects and people who are going to take this forward. But what is there for them? Because let me give you an example of where we are in India right now. Is you have this huge market for high-end apartments or just homes, which people are now being in a position they can afford it, they can furnish it. But say, for example, you look at a high-end place which costs say €1 million or maybe less, maybe more. Now the architect is hired by the real estate. They're designing these houses, and they are, of course, you have the celebrity architects who are featured in all the magazines, but the average architect many times doesn't probably know the standard of what a person paying so much wants with maybe exposure, maybe design language. And then you take it down to the person who's a contractor who doesn't really want to explore with materials because their margins are at risk. And then you look at the person actually building the house. The labor isn't respected in our country, like the carpenters, the masons,
Yes,
the
yes,
plumbers.
yes.
They're all respected in Europe. I mean, at least they have a certain level of standing in society. But here it's seen as menial jobs, right? They get paid by the day. They're replaceable, and so they don't really care how they build the house. They don't care whether they're putting in their hard work because they just want to make that money for their family's food that day. And how do you change that? Because what's the point of putting in so much money into your home when no one in the process cares about what they're making for you, but they only care about the salary or the profits or uh, finishing that job as quickly as possible.
Mm. Um, yeah, I get your point. First of all, I don't think this comparison Europe India goes is a bit too fast. I see that the craftsmen here are also has certainly a certain standard, but by the fact that they are scarce.
Okay.
So um, you cannot easily. They are fully booked. They are really uh, working very hard. There is not. There are not a lot. The next generation is not coming. I mean, like
Mm,
young people that want to be carpenter and masoner and so on. That is really tough.
right.
So. Um, the money thing is indeed an issue. Um, One thing is that I find architecture corrupt
Okay.
because it's working by percentage.
Right.
I don't know how that is in India, but they all get a percentage. And the fact of the percentage is that it's not helping the commissioner, the client, you as a owner. You say, okay, 10% is in the or 5% or 6%. So the architects squeeze everything to blow up the budget.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Because the more he can get, the better, and it tickles down like that, and it's not helping the project. So what we did in a project here, where uh, we try to give a lump sum, and we give a lump sum to the architects and say, look, we want to have a first plan, we want to have a second plan, we want to, and each time we pay a certain amount.
Right.
So you have another way of discussing and working together rather than saying, yeah, if the building will cost, let's say, 1,000 and you get 5%, in the end, he will come with a plan that says, yeah, the building will cost 1,500. I cannot do it for less.
Right.
So you get these kind of very, very strange conversations. Uh, to so the money is a thing that we have to change. How do we exchange the value around buildings to make
Right.
everybody really a collaborator rather than a competitor? Another
Mm.
problem of the building industry is it's an industry of or let's say of responsibility. The
Mhm.
architect says, "Oh, we need to hire an engineer." An engineer says, "We need to hire that constructor." That constructor says, "I only work with this material." So you get because they all don't want to take the responsibility.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Passing on.
And passing on so that in the end the manufacturer of the material takes on the that his calculations or their calculations are working and so on. So you get this kind of very strange pushing this responsibility from the table
Hmm.
of their table. And that is a bit the circle where we are in and that we have to break. I see, though, in India also an interesting example, and maybe I'm very superficial also in my analysis because I don't know really the Indian architecture world, but it could be. Although I think it's in the high end market. No, it is in the high. See an office like Studio Mumbai that is doing very interesting things, and it could be a model that might be developed in a different way on a smaller scale.
Okay.
It is a very interesting office that works very close with the craftsmen and the people that make things. So it's really making architecture than the traditional mechanical way where that somebody is drawing a plan, is putting a plan on somebody's other table and say, I want exactly this. It's more a dialogue, a
Right, right.
conversation where that things are done to get the spirit of the project, the quality, what I was referring to, like the floor. We are not talking about a wall or a floor uh, um, uh, that has a certain cost only, but also one that has a certain quality in itself. What is it doing to our bodies? What is it? How is it helping us to live there? And that I think is important.
Yeah, that I think is so nice to hear that it's that these kind of outfits exist, because that at least gives two things, right? It gives a sense of, okay, there's an opportunity for a potential homeowner saying, okay, these avenues are there to explore, as opposed to just going to the 10 or 20 biggest real estate companies who are building homes and villas and condominiums, and saying, you know what, I
Mm,
can go to a more niche thing. Okay, it might involve a little bit more money, but I'd rather save up for another 5 years rather than just buying. Because it's very sad when you hear of these. You hear a lot of ads, right, for these apartments on radio or television, where buy this and only so much, and a lot of people put their entire life savings into buying a home, whether it's a villa, whether it's an apartment, and just give you an example. Like last year, there was this rains that were really sort of unparalleled when it comes to Bangalore, and almost for 8 months it rained, and then you have these people who lived in this high-end villa community, and what they didn't realize is that the people who built the villa and layout hadn't really planned it, or rather they had hidden the fact that it was built on a storm drain. And next thing you know, like after 5 or 10 days of continuous rain, the entire place was flooded. And these are like homes which cost maybe $5 million, where their cars were submerged, their entire living rooms were submerged in water. And this is not just people trying to get more profits, but it's outright cheating people, and that's very sad to see,
wow.
right? From and it was, yeah.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. I think I give another example. This is horrible what you tell now, but yeah, I'm afraid it's um, it's also there you also see we lost contact with nature, with the environment. We are not analyzing anymore even the position of the house toward the north or the south, or the this or the that, or the rain is coming from there.
Mm.
So we are not analyzing this environment anymore. We are completely disconnected from it.
Yeah.
What I wanted to say is I wanted to give another example that maybe can help people to grow in a different way than, because they also think everything needs to happen now. You need to have the house, the kitchen, the bathroom, the bedrooms, the this, the that. All needs to be there.
Yeah.
First of all, and the example that I want to give is of a Chilean architects, Elemental, um, a project they made I think now 10, 15 years ago. I don't know exactly, but it's very simple. It's a social housing complex, and it has concrete blocks of a certain size. I don't dare to say how many square meters, but quite small, and has two levels. And it has a door. It has the infrastructure for water and the infrastructure for electricity.
Right.
So that means you can do a bathroom, a kitchen in it, and then next to that you have a kind of open space where you can fill it in yourself, because maybe you want to make a shop. So,
It's a bit
but
like
yeah,
Lego.
yeah, yes, yeah, it is like that. It's but somebody else wants has four children, and somebody else wants to live there with his or her parents. So you get other configurations, and everybody is able. So you have a very strong, good, solid structure, and you just build against it with very light materials that you build yourself, and you do over time when you have the means. But you have
Nice.
the basic infrastructure. So you have very good water, you have very good, you have a bathroom, you have all the essentials are there, and from there you can start.